Hey, everybody. So here we are for the future of contemporary art. My friend Jack and Tyrone. How you doing, Jack?
Well, Andrew, how are you?
Tyrone?
Not too bad, not too bad. Thank you, thank you.
Cool. So, Jack, do you want to let everyone know what we're talking about today real quick?
Well, we're here today to discuss the future of contemporary art. Artificial intelligence has provided a sea change, particularly within the art world. And there are some pros, there are some cons. And we're here today to discuss where the future of digital art, contemporary art, and kind of we're predicting the future really as to what's going to happen within the art world. Cataclysmic changes are at foot, and it's a very interesting time to be an artist and to be alive.
Cool. Okay. So I know people are coming in. So why don't you let us know where you are watching from, everybody? Welcome. Don't be shy. Everyone's always shy. And just a reminder that if you are watching from the Facebook groups, you should see it in the description, the link where you can please give StreamYard permission to show your name and profile pics, so I'll be able to credit you when you comment or ask questions. You should see that as StreamYard.com/Facebook. Just click that, give permissions. And it looks like people are coming in. So, yep, we got Carrie Ann from Townsville, North Queensland, Australia. Good to see you here. Thanks for being here.
Hey,
Thanks for joining us.
Someone on Facebook from the UK, from Ireland. Someone says, yes, I'm watching. So once again, let me remind you, please give StreamYard permission, show your name and profile pic, turn off your phone, and StreamYard.com/Facebook. Give that a click, give permission so I can see you. And someone else from the UK. A lot of people from Facebook. So let us know where you are watching from. So just to let people know while other people are coming in, I'm in Los Angeles. Jack, you're in what part of the UK?
Northampton, England.
And Tyrone?
the greatest town. No, I'm only joking. Yeah, I'm same as Jack, Northampton.
Oh, cool.
Local, yeah.
And how close is that to like London?
It's an hour north.
Wow, that's it. That's great. Smart.
Yeah.
I would imagine that the cost of living is better there than London. London's pretty expensive, right?
Yeah,
that's one of the perks. That's one of the perks. But it's not as culture, like, the art scene is not as rich as London.
Yeah.
Sure. But you can jump on a train or a tube to get to London pretty easily.
Yeah. It's not far at all. It's not far at all.
Cool.
I always think London is almost like a body of. It's a place where artists that are drawn to, and there's not there's artists that are raised there, but a lot of artists are drawn to that central point, London. It's always like an artist's dream, isn't it, to go to like a city where it's thriving in culture.
And I know that you've done a lot of work in London yourself, as have I, Tyrone, with book signings and exhibitions and stuff like that. And it's always I know it's only an hour's journey down the motorway, but it's always a very exciting buzz when you're there.
100%. Yeah, you can't beat the buzz of London.
Yeah.
Just a bit more, yeah.
And I know, Andrew, you used to live in London, didn't you?
Yeah, for six months,
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. I got like a worker's permit, a BUNEC card. I don't know if they still exist, but after graduating from college, and I ended up working in an American-style Mexican restaurant run by a guy from South Africa in Camden Town.
That's cool.
North London. And then I also ended up picking strawberries in Somerset, England.
Oh, Somerset. Oh, yeah. Okay.
But that turned out to be really cool because, the strawberries were a bit frozen. It wasn't the best pick, but, they would pay us for their time. And there was a bunch of people from different places, and we'd come together and drink at night and talk and tell stories. And on weekends, we took trips. So I got to get like a free trip from there in a van to like Stonehenge.
Oh, cool.
And
Glastonbury.
I think we went to Bath area. We went to like areas that, like, if I was in London, I probably would not have gone, and it was just kind of cool to see. We got Jennings from Orlando, Florida. Good to see you here.
Hi, Jennings.
Tim from Toledo. So yeah, a lot of people from in Facebook. You need to find that link if you look through the description, and click on StreamYard.com/Facebook. Give permission, so it shows your name and profile pic. Otherwise, it just says Facebook user. But lot to talk about. So who wants to start here? Or if there's any questions or comments about your views of the future of contemporary art, AI art, artificial intelligence, etc., please do let us know in the comments. We got Lori here. Good to see you here, Lori Rubin.
Hi, Lori.
So Jack or Tyrone, do you want to start?
Go on, Jack. Well, I think we can all agree AI is doing some incredible things, imagery-wise. It's almost like a new powerhouse, isn't it, or something to be taken seriously in this day and age. Whatever practice, I mean, even in my practice, I'm following people. I'm sure you guys are aware. People are utilizing it, and it's coming up with particular images where you can't help but view it as brilliant. That's my first instance of the AI sort of output at this stage.
And I was going to say the development is quite insane. Like, it's coming by so fast. There'll be, I run the digital art and AI art group on Facebook, and there'll be people who've posted months ago, and then they will also state when they post new work that this is the new version of Midjourney or something, and they'll talk about certain details or functions that have changed, and it's just like so rapidly changing. Should I kind of give my view of
yeah. Andrew.
So I run the, as I just said, the digital art and AI art group, and it used to be just called the digital art group, and then I wanted to embrace AI art. And my view is, I do feel that people are creating, or the bots, the AI is creating some amazing work, but I do think that there is an art to a degree for the prompts. So you have to have a mindset where you understand exactly what you're looking for. There's a very, very, very big difference between someone who goes in and says, give me a picture of this, and it comes out looking crappy, and someone who, I think I hear some feedback. I don't know if there's some feedback on someone's speaker or something. If that's yours, Jack or Tyrone.
Let me just close the window a second.
Yeah. Okay. But I was saying that, if you go in and you don't know how to navigate the prompts, how to organize them, how to add the description to it, then you're going to get like kind of a very flat type of artwork. But the people who have done the research and they know how to add the different prompts, and then they name the different styles, they name the quality, and they name the artist they want to reference the style of, then the art that's generated is pretty amazing.
There's an art to approach these engines. You have to use certain keywords to get the best out of these programs.
Right, and that's where you can see the beauty of it. Like some people are very anti. They're just very anti AI, and they don't even want to give it a chance. But yet there is an art to a degree of being able to bring that back, to being able to put it together and make something that's quite intense. So that itself is an art form, even though they're not physically making it. It's just text prompts. So,
and I think what we're seeing as well is some really amazing artists taking up AI as well. Artists that were very well known and recognized in their field before AI, and they're utilizing it in combination with, say, Photoshop or 3D. A few artists in the gallery, such as Patrizia Burra, Gus Fine Art, they're experimenting with AI, and they're really using it as an experimental tool for which to take their art forward, which I think it can only be a positive. I do understand the gripes of established digital artists and established artists who have put years and years of study and technicalities into their work, who now feel that, you know, this is such a threat to all of their learning. We're talking a whole lifetime of education for some people in the arts, and they really look down upon AI because of the democratic qualities that it has to make art.
Right.
So it's a double-edged sword, isn't it, Andrew and Tyrone?
Yeah, and I was going to bring up a comment that Jennings said, but before that, one thing I was going to say though is the one thing I have noticed though is the people who I used to follow, who do some really great work in general, digital art and photography. When those people started doing AI, they also did some really great AI work.
Yes.
So those people kind of set themselves apart from other people who are just kind of generally using it. And they will bring it into Photoshop and tweak it and kind of give it a depth to it that others don't. But yeah, I wanted to go over what Jennings said. So Jennings says, I'm finding AI a double-edged sword, extremely detailed parts of reality mixed into less detailed photos of mine. Got to be careful. Interesting.
Good point.
Almost like it. I like the fact that some people are using AI because of the errors, because it's not so refined yet. Some people are making. I've seen like people like just on my feed and stuff that are just utilizing it because it's so like unrefined, and they like this sort of glitchy, sort of edgy, unrefined AI. You know, the first sort of phase of like what it can be, rather than something that's, you know, perfect, or something that's, you know, the detail to the fact that it's you know, what is a good, you know, what is a good output from this system.
But it is getting refined to a degree where it's there's like a perfection of like I've seen artists who are now making what looks like photo shoots, and it's portraits that are done with AI, and those portraits are like perfect. So it looks like a perfect model, perfect lighting and all that. But at the same time, if they put in the text prompt that says side view with their hands holding their face, the one thing that's hilarious right now, at least, and they'll probably fix it, but for now, hands and teeth can be really crazy.
Yeah.
So I've seen like hands that turn into be like a pose like this, turns into be like 8 fingers, you know, and then teeth turns into be like, I'm not sure how many we have on each row, 10, 12 or whatever, that turn into be like, you know, 16. The stuff of nightmares, someone said.
But it's hilarious because of it, and people are still using images, almost exploiting, you know, an error in this system that's meant to be perfect.
Right. I mean, there's probably some surreal artists that could go in and play with that idea. Because I've also noticed eyes can be weird, which is strange because sometimes people, like I said, have created these portraits that are perfect. And then other times I've seen like a portrait that looks good, but then the eyes are like loopy. They're just irregular. They're not, you know, perfect circle. Someone says, does AI art feel like lab made diamonds? I'm not. Yeah, I mean, there's times where, but you know, I really do think that where it stands out is the artist's own touch. So I know that sounds weird because they're not physically creating it, but the prompts that they use and they know seems to really bring out the personality of the artist. So I've noticed that there are people who have even done some abstract work that you wouldn't expect. You would expect it to be just perfect, you know, portrait type stuff. But I've seen people do abstract work with like artistic landscapes, and those are extremely personalized. Like they look like this person's style, and they don't look like just an AI generated, you know, factory.
That is where you really study the system and the algorithm to the point of making it an art form. You know, like when you're looking in creating your own style in AI, it's you can't just be a novice. But initially with the gallery, myself and my colleagues, we were massively against it. I don't know whether you've seen the recent campaign, Say No to AI Art. It's all over Instagram. A lot of artists. So we were kind of in that camp. But then we realized I started using little bits myself for stock images and stuff for my Photoshop compositions. And kind of started to embrace it a little bit. And then I saw some other artists that I really admire producing some incredible work using AI as well. And it just became, you know, something that I thought, this is a future. I can't ignore the future, and neither can the Influx Gallery. If someone is using AI in combination with mixed media paint, abstract textures, or Photoshop, it's just part of the creative process, isn't it? Rather than going on Adobe stock as a digital artist and downloading some stock images, now you can create your own, what's in your head. Instead of looking for that stock image, you can create it in AI as part of a composite or anything. So my feelings have kind of changed over the last 6 months regarding AI, and I think I'd have to put myself in the pro camp now.
It's official. No,
Yeah,
it's interesting you say that, because I guess you're like utilizing it rather than relying on it completely. Like you're using it as a tool for your own vision rather than, you know, I am AI art, I'm standing behind it. Like you're just taking it on board. I think there's almost like a line. How far are you going to dive in just to using it solely, or just taking aspects of it just to enhance something
that's just personally with the gallery as well, Tyrone. Obviously, we have to embrace it. We're an art gallery. So if a huge what can we call it? It's like a huge change in the art world, and all these different, like millions of new artists coming about because of the democratization of art, really, through AI. So we can't ignore it. I think that it's something that we've had to embrace. And I don't know, change. The same thing happened in photography, didn't it? When photography first came about, there were so many haters. People were like, this isn't art. This will never, ever be in galleries.
Yeah.
I mean,
go on. Sorry, Andrew.
I was just going to say, for me, you know, when you had talked about, like, you know, stock imagery, that's kind of the way I treat it. So like I'll jump in and I'll ask it to create what I'll basically use for background or just an element, and then I'll create my digital art photo composites. But I don't I'm also just not that versed in like what is the true lingo to create great work. I do know that there is a site which I should try to find here, which is good to reference.
I did download the Stable Diffusion plugin on Photoshop. I haven't used it yet, though.
Okay, so yeah, lexica.art is a great site where you can go in and you can say, okay, I want an image of this, and then it shows you that, and then you click on it, and then it'll show you the prompts that you can use to create that. So then you can grab those prompts and then you can tweak them, and you can study. So you can study different images that you like and grab elements of those prompts to then create your own. But I wanted to give a quick shout out to someone, as well as answer a kind of statement that someone else made. So before, I was stating that if you create your work with the prompts, if you've already been an artist and you have a certain look, some artists who are already great artists can then take the prompts and very much personalize them to create their own stylization. And one of those artists I did a live with in the past is here. So Lennart Ostman, not sure, forgot how to say it, but a great artist. And he is someone who does a lot of AI art, and it is extremely personalized. So it looks like it's totally his style. It does not look like he's just jumping in and pumping things out similar to that AI look. So yeah, he's someone who's really kind of done a great job with it. And now to kind of switch more into some other conversation, there is the fact that, you know, people are excited. They're following the technology. They're pumping this work out. They're starting to get even better with it, their own stylizations, I said. But then there's also the legal issues. So Constance says, see legal case written about in The Guardian yesterday. So I think just this morning, too, in some other online site, news site, they were saying there was a group of artists who are basically suing Midjourney and maybe Stable Diffusion, I think it is. So what they are referencing is that Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and other AI art sites are basically stealing maybe the body of work or referencing the body of work of certain artists. So they might see, as an example, Jack's work and kind of incorporate it in their library. So then if people, put in a bunch of prompts and they say Jack Savage, et cetera, then it would steal elements of your work and your style. And so they don't want that happening. It's going to be very interesting because as far as I know, the whole thing is just so kind of murky and expansive that how do you even sue Midjourney? And I don't know if they're going to be able to, pretend in a certain innocence and say, well, it's just the computer generating and we're not referencing the art of Jack or in other people. I don't know. What's your views, Tyrone?
We kind of needed a legal expert to join us in this discussion, didn't we? AI lawyer.
Where are you?
I guess these programs need something to reference, don't they? So the people who are making it, they're going to go to artists that are doing great things for their pool, for them to use it to bring out the best in, their the output of the program, I guess.
Yeah.
But you can see why certain artists will feel offended or go legal with it. But at the same time, if you're making good work anyway, there's always going to be, people that are going to be inspired by your work that are going to try to do what you're doing anyway. There's always going to be that sense of someone's trying to, or inspired, or someone's trying to not copy me, but they're going to take on what I'm doing because they found a path in my sort of vision or direction. It's one of those ones. How far do you want to take it? That is the body of AI, right? Deriving from people's work.
I think the only way they can kind of hone in on it is if there's any legal action taken, the artist would have to show examples where the AI itself is referencing artist work and say that there is a body or a library of art that they have that they use to help generate new images, as opposed to Midjourney or one of these other sites saying that we don't reference directly. It's just something that it's part of like the intelligent bank, you could say, of AI. So that's where I think it's the two worlds are kind of a little murky right now, but might become more clear with legal action,
Yeah.
Someone said show some examples, but this is more of a panel. We're in talking mode.
Yeah.
So if you,
what would you say if someone copied if they used your work, would you personally be offended, or would you be?
See, now that's I think the best question so far. I like that. That's so you asking Jack or me?
Both of you, man.
I guess like you just said, Tyrone, this happens in the art world all the time, and like sometimes people are innovators, so they're pushing their work down a certain line, and people are going with them, and it's creating new futuristic, brilliant experimental work. And I guess you look at it as a compliment, really, don't you? When someone's looked at an aspect of your work and they're trying to incorporate it in theirs, it means that you're doing something right.
Okay, so my take would be, if it has a certain stylization like my work, but it's not like a complete takeover of my work, then it's a compliment. If it looks a lot like my work, and here's the icing on the cake, if it looks a lot like my work and they're selling, then I'd be like pissed. I'd be like, that's a little, crossed over.
I think that's a very important point, Andrew. So a lot of these artists that are actually suing are big boys in the art world that are selling in galleries and even on their personal websites for millions of dollars. So they do feel directly threatened,
So now I have a question for you. So with the Influx Gallery, such a wide range of digital artists, in the future, are you planning on having a show just of AI artists? Is that something you might do?
We are planning on running a photography competition this year. And what we haven't seen with other photography competitions are categories such as AI and 3D, which is actually Gus Fine Art's idea to have these new categories, mixed media, just to expand upon the general competition ethos. And I do think that it would be incredible to, like, you know, to see the best of AI. It's almost like a sport, isn't it? You know, like it becomes a new category, a new sport. And Patrizia with a gallery, Patrizia Burra, she's a master qualified European photographer, and she's actually now running courses combining 3D and AI. And I've never actually seen Tyrone as actually probably nearly as prolific as Patrizia. She's just producing, like, it's like she's just working day and night producing art. Really prolific. In my life,
it must be nice to have that time to just do art all the time, though, right?
Yeah, I've got a lot of other responsibilities with the gallery.
Right, Tyrone?
I struggle sometimes, to be fair. Almost like you get to the point where you have to make something, you know. But yeah, it is juggling, yeah.
But I admire that about you, Tyrone. Like, when I look at some of your posts, you're posting like 7 award-winning pieces on one Instagram feed, and I'm thinking, wow, Tyrone, why don't you just do 7 individual posts?
Yeah, I know what you. Yeah, sometimes if I make something, I have to, you know, get it out. Obviously,
under pressure, but I love it because as a fan and as someone that, you know, embracing you within the gallery, I'm thinking, wow, this guy's on fire. I love that.
But Jack, to take the question also further, you're talking about photography and AI and all that, but in the future, might you have a show that's purely AI art? Would that be something you might?
Andrew, I never say never. And I have seen someone, my Romanian friend, Sufagen, can't remember his name now, but he's massive on AI, and there was an exhibition in Romania that was solely for AI artists. And then afterwards, he became represented by the gallery. So that is definitely something for the future, I think.
Now, someone said there are more human artists imitating other artists than AI artists imitating other.
It's true. It's true.
Good point.
I agree on that completely. One other thing about AI pieces as well, like if you're going to buy art from, you know, an AI program or whatnot, obviously there is the art of putting something into the generator, right? But, you know, as artists, photographers or whatnot, there's almost like a backstory, right? Backstory of why we do what we do. You know, these programs, they don't have a sort of backstory in terms of, you know, I got to this point, I made this because it might get to that in the future when it has, you know, a sort of a mind of its own. Who knows where it could go? But at this standing point, it's like, you know, I want to understand the artist's mind, what made them make this work, the story behind the piece. That is almost like there's so much layers into, you know, real work. You know, what is real, but sort of an artist making work and their backstory, and, you know, that whole world there. You know, you can buy into that rather than something that's produced off a program. Yeah. Just to challenge the status quo.
And I was gonna say I'm very curious to see how it develops in other forms, such as so as an example, I was listening to I'm not sure if you guys have heard of him, but Niels Fromm. So he does like kind of like synthesizer and piano, and then he kind of layers it, and it becomes very hypnotic, very cool. And I like that kind of music in general, as Jack knows. But the idea that like you can already program a sequence and then add on top of it, but it'll be interesting to see how you can use AI to generate things like that, which I would imagine someone like Brian Eno would be a big fan, because I know he's created systems that have generated art. Like I think it was kind of like 100 paintings or 1,000 paintings. Do you remember that, Jack, that Brian Eno did some?
Yeah.
So that was like kind of just generating its own endless art. So I would imagine some artists will want to embrace AI and let it just kind of in the moment at a show be constantly generating its own. And so the AI almost has a mind of itself.
That's a cool
idea. I don't know a lot about it, but I have seen some incredible AI animation as well. It's not just the singular still image that this revolution is taking place.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's everywhere, man. It's everywhere at this point.
Yeah, it's in 3D, it's in motion graphics, and, you know, I'm not educated enough in those topics to give a vast description, but I've seen some incredible things coming, especially from animation. And so I guess animators are now threatened.
Yeah. And then, filmmakers, that'll be interesting to see how it, but the one thing we were talking about earlier, before we jumped into live, is I find it very interesting with the whole, like chat GPT. So that's where, an app like chat GPT, and I think u.com has a good chat AI function. And that's where you can go in and you can say, okay, give me 10 great titles for digital art videos, and then, use them for your YouTube, or write me a essay about this book that I just read. And the thing that's getting interesting is I just, heard recently that, say, Microsoft was willing to put in billions of dollars into, becoming one with this kind of chat GPT. I don't know if they're going to buy them out or just kind of work with them. And then, of course, I heard Google then wanting to do some similar thing. But then you have the issue that if it comes to an AI writing, say, essays, papers, whatever, you have the responsibility, I guess you could say, for education. I mean, not to put down.
How would anyone ever know, though? That's the scary thing. Like as a teacher, you haven't got X-ray glasses on, or you're not a psychic, are you?
So following the news, and I even, like, for my Google News, I started, I'd have like Mac OS and Adobe and whatnot. And then I started even like putting artificial intelligence as one's kind of content theme to follow. And the development I've seen is, first there was the announcement that you can write these wonderful titles, essays, papers, whatever. Then the news I saw next was, at least in places like New York State, they were making it illegal to use AI chat apps, I guess you could call them, AI writing apps, for your paperwork, for your homework. And they were therefore banned in New York State, high schools, different forms of education, maybe colleges, of course, and also public libraries. And then to follow that up was the same question that you had, Jack, is, well, then how do they even do that? And then the next follow-up I saw was a guy who was only 25 or 26 years old, who was like a hacker, a writer, coder, who created an app that can figure out what is AI and what is not. I don't know how, but that's what's happening. And then, like I said, there was the issue of the artists that were going to sue Midjourney and all that. So my prediction is the next step is with AI in terms of writing and chat. There's got to be some writers that are going to say, you stole my kind of language here.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
Yeah, because to get these essays, they're going to have to go to a pool of resources, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Right now, it's like I said, kind of murky between like what is being kind of auto-generated and what is referencing true sources. And there might have to be some type of requirement that they can't use a certain amount beyond a certain point of a certain artist's work or writing style or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, how do you're saying, Tyrone?
Yeah. I think the same thing's happening within music as well, where you've got these programs that can go through like an artist's back catalogue of lyrics, and they can produce and sound just as well as the artist, write their whole lyrics and whatnot.
Right. And sampling, right? So if you're sampling music.
Yeah. So, the future-wise, there could be an AI artist out there on the radio, it could get to that point. I'm pretty sure it's probably happening already, to be fair, but
yeah, pretty intense. Yeah. So Leonard says the problem with AI art is that it's too fast. There's no room for deeper thoughts if you don't go after it intentionally. It's a good point. Yeah. And my take on it too is, and this is my viewpoint, and don't attack me, people who are big AI art fans, because I do like it. to a degree. But the thing is to be honest, if I see Jack and Tyrone post their work and I look at it and I'm like, I can feel the emotion. I can feel where they're trying to take me to. I can feel the mood that they're giving me. And I'm like, that's cool. And I can contemplate it and I look at it and I appreciate it. But I have to admit, with AI art, there's times when I see something that looks dynamic and it's very advanced or intricate and there's a great composition, great colors, whatever. And I look at it and then all of a sudden I feel kind of empty. I kind of feel empty. Like I know that an AI bot or robot or whatever it is has created it, and someone hasn't spent 20 hours or a week or a month or a year to create this evocative piece. And so my initial response is, that's pretty cool. And then my second response with AI, to be honest, and don't attack me, is, I kind of feel empty a little bit. Whereas
that's why, because you can't connect to anyone behind it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, a series of different robot prompts are creating something that is supposed to evoke an emotion. You're kind of confused, right? You're kind of like, you're going down one road of feeling the emotion, and then you're like, oops, well, wait, that doesn't seem like the way I should be feeling.
I guess until the time comes where, feelings and thoughts have got that advanced within certain systems, who knows what. We watch a lot of sci-fi films, don't we, I guess. But yeah, I mean, being anti or, with AI, I think it just comes with a pinch of salt because it's so new. People are scared to, come away from the bubble that, this is what art should be like. This is what photography should be like. Jack was saying earlier, like when photography first came around, it's almost like a bit of a cheat code. People, debating whether it was art or not. Then you jumped into digital photography, and some film photographers were on the fence about that. And then you get into the mode where, digital photography start manipulating images. People are on the fence about that. There's always going to be those certain boundaries to take to the next level, which is quite new, that people are, afraid of, or, that shouldn't be like that. But I think, as long if it's here to stay, utilize it. If you want to stay doing what you're doing, that's cool. But if you want to utilize it, everyone's different, right?
Absolutely.
Now,
this has always been the case in music too. In conventional rock music, experimental pioneers were, they were frowned upon by conventional music critics if they were doing something different. And I think history will judge. And like you said, Tyrone, you've just got to go with the flow sometimes. You've just got to embrace change, or just keep an eye on it. Whether you're pro or con AI, just keep an eye on it, see where it's going to progress. As I know you're doing, Andrew, you're doing a lot of research into certain aspects, intellectual aspects of AI, which I appreciate. And it's good to be educated on these matters.
Absolutely. And we got a bunch of comments coming in. So let's see. Sarah says, because technology is going to get more and more advanced, so anything is possible, and there are no rules about what counts. Does it invite and require us to go deeper and value art on what it makes?
Great question.
And then she also follows it up to say how it moves us, challenges us. So in that sense, it's a good thing, which takes us back to the fundamental spirit of art. You were just saying something similar, Andrew. Yeah. I mean, it's. I feel conflicted. In one way, I'm like, wow, this is really great, but then I become aware, or more aware, that it's created by AI, and then I'm like, But then let's see. Well, then Rose just jumps in to say, where is it? Rose Karen is back in New Zealand. Much better time zone to watch. Good to see her, Rose. And let's see. Someone on Facebook says, I feel AI is the tool set if easy, no thought filter, I guess, for easy, no thought filter apps. I feel they're good for templates and work from there in the old school Photoshop and Lightroom. So I'd like to add to that. So there are, I run 4 different groups on Facebook, And there are some people who, like, obviously in the digital art and AI art group, there are people who have embraced AI art and the technology that's advancing. But in my Photoshop and Lightroom group, there's a lot more kind of, I guess you could say, purist or traditionalist photographers and Photoshop artists who, some of them vehemently, I think that's how you say it, hate AI, to be honest. And they will, the minute someone uses AI in that group, they will jump in and attack and whatever and put us admins and mods to work. But the thing is, shit, I'm missing my train of thought here because so much to think about. With that group, here's my point. So here's my main point. So there's a lot of people that are very adamant against it. They don't like it. They take a stand against it. They will attack people who post. But the truth is, if you are using like Photoshop every day, you are most likely using AI apps or elements of AI. So the minute that you select something and you do content aware fill, that is AI. Yeah. And the minute that you even do some of the selection tools themselves, I believe they use AI to read the pixels around it. And if you use that whole neural filters gallery now, which has become amazing, where you can do a retouch at the click of a button, it just reads the image and retouches damaged photo for you, or it does a colorization, or it can even add a background to your image. That is all AI. So I think there will probably rise different groups of people where there will be people who, I can accept AI and these filters and these elements in Photoshop, but not overall. And then there'll be other people that are like, I accept it everywhere.
Yeah. So. Does it become a bit snobby though? But like, I'm just a Photoshop person, but I hate AI, like you just said, it becomes sort of, that's what people once thought about Photoshop, isn't it? The same arguments were presented by Photoshop and purism within photography itself. So we're going around in a circle, really. And
it is in a bit of a circle sort of like dynamic where Photoshop, people are scared of change, right?
And I know, Tyrone, you had this same dilemma with your own work, didn't you, when you changed direction?
Oh yeah, 100%. I was a bit of a rawist in terms of just taking a photo, keeping the essence there and not touching it at all. Made a lot of work, with the same sort of ideology of like just keeping things raw. And I just got to a point where I needed something refreshing for myself. Kept a few side projects where I'll just, really sort of bend these rules that I had before, and it opened up new doors for me, or new people that understood the work that I was doing straight away and stuff. It was just like a refreshment. But as an artist, obviously, you have to keep, challenging yourself to some dilemma or keep things fresh for yourself. But I was gonna say, where do you think, or how far do you think it could go in terms of AI producing imagery and artwork? What do you think is like the, sort of the pinnacle part of like, okay, it's reached a level now where you can't ignore it, because it's still early stages, right?
Yeah. It could be said that before, when someone produced a breathtaking piece of work, you could see that was days, weeks, years of creation and learning. For instance, 3D, these programs are not easy to learn. Now it's kind of, has art been disrespected somewhat? Now when someone looks at a spectacular and wondrous piece, do they think, well, that's just AI? Do they respect the artist less? That is one question where it's hard to answer.
And that was what I was saying earlier too, the same feeling where if I look at something and I know, back in the day, someone spent weeks, months, whatever to create that, that's part of the awe of that artwork for me.
Yeah, whereas and the artists themselves too.
Right. Whereas if I see a similar piece and it's well done, but I know AI did it and it only took 5 minutes, then I'm like, Now here's a, going back to the kind of the legal issues. Okay, here it is. Found it. My friend Kathy says today's big news is that Getty Images is suing over unlicensed usage. I agree with this. Your thoughts? So, I mean, there's the issue, bring it back up. There's the issue of also, if Getty is selling a bunch of stock imagery of different photographers, and then these AI apps are creating similar styles that are very similar to companies like Getty Images that are selling these images, there's a reason to sue. There's a reason to say that you've kind of you've basically taking our content. Even if the bot is generating, you're taking our content. So what do you think, Tyrone?
I've seen Mid-Journey images on stock websites, so not everyone. Well, maybe there's legal cases are going to be forthcoming, but the way things stand, Shutterstock, for instance, a lot of Mid-Journey work is appearing on there.
Yeah. Tyrone?
At this stage, there's a lot of legal things happening in terms of AI because it's a force to be reckoned with, and it's not stealing, but it's mimicking artists' work. Obviously all these sites with a body of work. It's almost like it can't be put in its place. Like where the boundary is going to go. Like how far are we going to just accept it? Because there'll probably be a point where they can just it could pull into the pool of everyone's work that's uploaded on Instagram or something.
Right.
Where. How
right. So can you take any legal action if it just says that the bots themselves, the kind of mainframe of this is just constantly generating and learning and creating? It's not really referencing directly any artist. It just has that as part of its potential. So, and John says, I guess I'm like Jack and I'm moving more towards the pro camp as a toolkit item. I'm grateful for it. For example, the rotoscoping AI for video is a massive time saver. It's a win for me. Sure.
Great point, John.
Someone else says Adobe Stock allows upload of AI art, but it has to be tagged AI generated. Yeah, I have noticed that Adobe does want to be responsible about it. And they even talked about that at Adobe Max. So they're embracing AI, but they want to, be clear about things. I don't think they would generate a bunch of backgrounds that you could put in any image after you knock out the subject. And I think the minute that someone were to show an example of a body of work and say, you are basically mimicking my style, they might even pull it. I think that they want to be responsible about it. So
that's good to hear.
Yeah. Cool. So just back to the people who are watching, just do let us know if you have any questions or comments related to the future of contemporary art, AI, artificial intelligence in general.
I don't know if either you know where it's got to the point where there'll be like an AI artist who will have a name. Do you think has it got to that stage already, or do you think do you know any artists that have sort of got a label of this is the artist, I'm producing
absolutely
work?
There's artists on Instagram with huge followings that are just producing AI art, and some of it's spectacular, Tyrone, as well. So it is a cataclysmic change, and it's here to stay.
And it looks like Lennart was starting a statement, but he stopped. Another interesting what, Lennart? You got me all curious now. Another interesting.
And another, I've always, especially with both of your works, actually, the old adage, break the rules and there are no rules in art. And the rules of art are there for breaking. So I think that's another thing to take into consideration. But when you're pushing boundaries and you're experimenting and you're thinking outside the box and you're trying to do something that not everyone has done before. I know, everything's derivative at some level, but we all like to make experiment and like to think that we're producing something unique to us.
Why not utilize it? Why not take something that's challenging now and make it into something that's still in line with your own, body of work? I don't think that's something to knock. It's something of now, isn't it? Of day and age now. So if you can make something new out of something, of course.
And me and Andrew have both noticed some of our favorite artists really running with this. Like some people we really, really respect in the world of digital art and photography. Multi-award winners, masters qualified photographers, just going with the AI train and running with it.
Antti is one of them that comes to mind too.
Yeah,
Antti.
he does some incredible stuff. So he took self-portraits of Pia Ratio of Finland, and he's using multiple AI softwares to produce incredible self-portraits and just next level stuff, really.
Yeah. I was going to say, one aspect that we haven't really touched upon that I find interesting is the spectrum of how it's like there's going to be a big spectrum of good, and I think there's going to be a big spectrum of bad, or quote unquote bad. But what I mean by that is, for sure, it's already helped and will help people even more with people who have disabilities. So the idea that you can have a site that you can go to if you have a problem with your vision, you can go in and be able to speak to the AI and say, like ChatGPT, can you read me this book? And it could read that book. Or, maybe there's a way that you can connect it to your business and it can read your emails for you or something, and you'd have to secure it, of course, but there's a way that AI can be helpful in that way. A lot of different ways it could help people with disabilities.
Yeah.
But then on the polarized opposite end, and I think I've talked about this before, is it seems like it could get really kind of spooky with the type of stuff that it could do with hacking. So, not just, lower level hacking, but like getting into banks and being able to retrieve money, getting into government. So getting into different parts of government, being able to use AI to hack even further, to change information. And then, they talk about what's that phrase called when a deep fake. So then it can also do deep fake, where you could, if you're a hacker and you do a deep fake, you could have like a political person making a comment live on media or news, which is really just purely a hacked reality. That's where it starts getting pretty crazy, So
it's about 10 sci-fi subplots you just reeled off there, Andrew. Futuristic sci-fi.
Yeah, right. I just created some movies here.
Yeah.
So Tommy has some good thoughts here. So Tommy says, isn't AI just an option to steal something, make it your own faster than ever before? Might that be your creative thoughts that is translated to art faster than lightning? I can do it manually, but it will take years to learn, implement, display. Yeah, it's sort of like AI is kind of like Neo in the Matrix.
Yeah.
So, when he goes and he's learning things fast, that'll be another way that, you can have AI. It's sort of like for education wise, it could be like you go to AI and you say, give me a summary of this. And then you don't have to read the book, So it's sort of like, I forgot what they were called, but there was these little yellow guides in America that would summarize books. So people who couldn't get into it, it seemed too hard, difficult for them, they would read those guides. So if anyone in America remembers those guides, the yellow guides, let me know in the comments.
Do you guys not think that great art will always rise to the surface? So great artists and those innovators that are at the top of their game, AI or no AI, they will always be fated due to their creativity, brilliance, and the work that they produce.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain level. Sometimes you have to be in the right space, and if people are quite powerful in the art world that are using it, then it's going to get seen
Yeah.
more so than someone that's really talented in, you know, an area that, you know, they haven't got any people that are going to help them put their work in, you know, types of places. But I guess, you know, you have to, I think that's a good thing to believe in. You know, true art will always rise to the surface no matter what. It's almost like, you know, the light will always, you know, appear, or I think that's a beautiful direction of thinking, but sometimes I don't know if it, you know, generally happens all the time. It's just right place, right time, powerhouses.
Absolutely. Sometimes you're right, Tyrone. It is that lucky break that people need or they're looking for. For instance, when I was in London last, there was an artist at the gallery next door to my represented gallery, the Zari Gallery. He had 100,000 followers on Instagram. He never made one sale until he got signed by the gallery next door to my gallery. And now his work's selling, his paintings are selling for £50,000. So that was his lucky break. And all those followers on Instagram, they didn't help him sell. They were just, they created a buzz and they helped his career in that respect. But it was that one lucky break that took him to that next level.
That in general is something I'm very intrigued by, is just the psychology of what makes people like certain people, you know, and you know, like if
under someone's umbrella, isn't it?
It's what?
Sometimes you have to be under the right umbrella. Like the guy you knew, he was in the right gallery, he was in the right format, he was presented under them, so it made him, you know, sellable. Like, it's almost, it seems like that.
But like, you know, for like say YouTube, you know, there's Mr. Beast, who's like the king of YouTube, and his stuff is, you know, fun little entertainment type videos, and he's doing so good, but like it's hard for me to watch it. You know, I find it kind of dumb at times, and you know,
I think that's a great point, Andrew, because even someone like KSI, I admire what he's done, and like, but I look at everything, his rapping, his boxing, everything. I just think, wow, this is a society where it's like this guy has become a multi-billionaire with not a lot of talent, maybe business talent, yes, but not really artistic talent.
Yeah, I find it very kind of strange sometimes, like what takes off now in this time period we're in, you know, and I'm biased to what I like. So in my mind, I'm thinking there's all these people who are just entertainers who are doing kind of what I consider dumb entertainment, and they're doing great. And I wish people like us were making bigger money. Like I
like that dumb entertainment. That sums it up for me, actually.
Yeah, and I have seen, like, you know, people who do social media marketing analytics, and I have seen the bar graphs, and they do say that like entertainment is the top thing. You know, so for Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, entertainment wins. You know. And, you know, that's why things like Netflix will do well too. Movies will do well. But it's just, we're in a time where sometimes I find like, wow, that person's doing that good on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. And it's just like, I can't watch it for 2 minutes, you know?
It seems like things that are really commercialized are really watered down. And for some reason, it's almost like, I don't know, it's super refined. And for some reason, it's really appealing. It's like when you turn on the radio, sometimes it's not the best music. It's really watered down, you know, and filtered, and just, you know, almost like plastic for some reason, you know. Yeah. And sometimes that is the most easily digestible for some people, rather than, you know, something that's really complex and has a lot of substance to it. For some reason, it's like McDonald's, right? Like, it's really popular, but it's not the best food. It's just really quick. It's easy. We're so used to it.
And that reminds me, like when I'm in the grocery store and they play the pop music, and there's certain songs that like I literally hate, and like how did this get so famous? This certain pop music. So I'm like, certain pop music I find it very annoying, very. But like they're famous, they're doing well, people are buying their albums. I can't imagine like buying a CD or an album of some of these pop songs that just really are grating to me. It's like,
but then Andrew, and at the same level, can you imagine those same people that are buying that pop music, listening to some Brian Eno? They'd listen to some of that ambient stuff and be like, they just wouldn't understand
Right.
it.
They would say it's too weird or something.
Yeah, of course. Which so you're always up against these kind of. But then there's also the argument that there is a boundary of taste, and I agree with you, Andrew. Some of it is so bad for anyone that as a serious music lover or a serious art lover, it's hard, isn't it?
Things are like packaged really well, aren't they? Or just like they're put out as a product really well. The people behind them, things that are really popular, the people behind them know what they're doing. They're made into something so well, like branded very well. Like I think there's a lot of creative people behind the stuff that's popular. A lot of the time, just to make a quick buck, it's almost like a business, right? Just to put something out there that people that are going to be drawn to straight away without even thinking. Going back to what I said earlier, but yeah, it is a bit sad sometimes when you're not hearing something that's really great out and about. It's all quite watered down. It's just like the very sort of. But it's the artist's mind, isn't it?
Isn't it sad? Isn't it sad to think that the work in galleries and some of this contemporary art that's in vogue and in all London galleries and Paris and Milan, maybe that's not the best art out there. Maybe that's the art that's being curated by what's vogue in the art world, and there's something brewing in the underground that isn't in vogue, that is just as good, if not better. That always inspires me, to change things up. Don't always go with the status quo. Don't always go with what's in vogue or what you see in an art gallery. Believe in something new and something experimental and something cooler. And it's a fascinating thought.
And I have a thought about something that happened recently that I was thinking about, how it's interesting where two similar styles, having a similar style, but having really good timing can really propel something. So an example was there was that Wednesday Addams show that came out. And what happened was the actress who plays Wednesday Addams, she got famous for doing a certain style that was referential to, like 80s goth, or, I wouldn't say punk, but more like kind of goth. And it was a Cramps song she was dancing to that I'm very well aware of that band. And she did this whole dance, and then it became a craze where people were posting that on Instagram, their variations or versions of that. And then what happened was just recently, and it's all about timing, because there's no way that they would have known about this beforehand, but there was a movie about a robot called Megan that came out, and she did some kind of dance that was weird. And I guess she does this dance right before she kills or beats up somebody. And that was taking off. And I thought, it's interesting. What they did was, before they released the movie, they would have a bunch of girls dressed like this Megan robot doll and go to different sections of, say, New York or something, and kind of like a what do they call it when they just out of nowhere do like a sing along or whatever? What's that called again? There's a term for that, where flash mob. So they do like these flash mobs where it's orchestrated, but then it's spontaneous to a degree, and they go to, like, say, 42nd Street in Manhattan, and 20 to 50 different girls start doing this dance or something. So they did this for a series of time. Yeah, flash mob. So they did this for a series of time before the movie even came out. And so in the back of people's mind, they were like aware of this weird occurrence that was happening. And it coincided with the Wednesday Addams dance, that when Megan was released, it had a huge turnout at the box office. So I find that to be very interesting, that kind of like how one thing mimics something else, but it really is about timing, and how they really focused on like one aspect, like that dance, for months before the release of the movie. And just that itself was remembered in people's brains, and then more people saw it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. The synchronicities and certain trends will bounce off each other, and make something way more popular. especially like with TikTok and stuff. It's all dances and crazes, isn't it?
Right.
Stuff that like goes viral. That's like the major hitter at the minute, isn't it?
Right. So, but if you went to TikTok and typed in the Megan dance, there'd probably be like
Millions.
10,000 or millions dance.
Yeah. Have you tried it yourself?
It's what?
Have you tried the dance yourself?
I just did, didn't I? Didn't I?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Let's see. That someone has a question here. Is there an interface between AI and NFT, or are they the same animal? So, I do think they cross over. You know, and that itself might be kind of murky water too. Like, say someone uses AI and they create AI art, and then they sell it as an NFT, and then someone comes along and uses a similar prompt, and it creates the same look, same kind of AI art, and they go to sell it as an NFT. Can the first original NFT prompt artist sue that second artist, or what? I mean, that's what the kind of gist of all this is it's so murky between what you can say is allowed and what isn't. You know, who has copyright power in all this, or is it just completely just thrown to the wind? But people don't want it to be that way. That's why people are suing now. They're trying to kind of, what I see is kind of pulling it back in a bit, especially right before it takes off. Because I myself am in a book about predictions, live streaming, and digital media, and majority of my predictions are that AI is going to take off. So I summarize that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've been right. You've been right so far on quite a few, haven't you? Especially within the last 6 months.
Yeah, and mark my words, I think 2023 is going to be a wild ride with it too. Like, you're going to see a lot of cases of people, you know, going to court over it, or just advancements. Like, I think there's going to be some pretty intense and vast advancements, and I do think there'll be some very helpful things. You know, so a way that AI can, you know, even to the point where, like, hopefully AI can help give new thought forms to advancements in, like, health.
Yeah.
So, you know, with issues that have been a big and kind of sad burden to a lot of people, such as cancer, maybe there'll be ways that it'll be able to do research, and it'll be doing research while you can sleep, right? If you can set up the AI to generate a way to do research endlessly, you could be sleeping and then you wake up in the morning and it's come up with like a solution to something big. You know, I mean, that's where it can be very beneficial. So,
Yeah, agreed.
John wants me to demonstrate for us.
I guess with the NFT and the AI, they're both in the digital world. Obviously, the digital world is growing bigger and bigger. We rely on it, don't we? So
yeah,
almost like coinciding. I don't know how you feel about NFTs. I guess it's a different topic, but it is strictly, obviously, in a different realm, isn't it? It's strictly digital.
But I'm not clear, like, what the ownership is for NFT. Like, say you put up one of your artworks to a site and you sold it as an NFT. Is it like a print where you can then sell that same NFT to endless people?
It's the digital. It's the digital copy of the artwork. So some people do.
So it's like printmaking, right?
Yeah, it's just you can accompany it with a print, but it's the person owns that piece of the artwork digitally. So it's just a code.
Right. So you could, like printmaking, you could sell thousands of the same NFT to various people, right?
I think,
I'm not sure.
So I think there's a difference.
Yeah, that's my confusion. Like, is the one NFT kind of owned by one person, the way a painting would be, or is it more like printmaking where you can do a run of thousands and everyone, 1,000 people can own a copy of it? So
I know that each time the NFT gets sold, the artist is also paid a percentage, the original artist. So it's a chain, isn't it?
Blockchain.
But I don't know about it.
My friend Heinrich says the legal issues have to be solved, and the right now ongoing cases will get us more security in that area.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fact that people are taking action is a way to set up some type of boundary or some type of guideline to what this can do. Otherwise, it's just free form, and
Mhm.
you know,
Things need patching up. It's like a grey area, right? Where it's being
Yeah.
molded into
I
something.
just don't see how you can. It just seems like it's so expansive that how do you reel it in?
Mhm.
Someone says just one AI company grabbed 600 million images.
Wow.
So, does that mean is it allowed to reference 600 million images, or is that 600 million thefts? And someone says an NFT is a completely unique piece of digital based art, not a print, although it may be output as a print. I'm not talking about the physicality of a print. I'm saying, um, I know what an NFT is, but as an NFT, if you have one piece, so say this is the piece is the hand, and I sell it to Jack. Jack, you owe me $1 million, but I sell it to Jack, and then can I, like, a week later, sell it to Tyrone or anybody else? I mean, that's my question: is a one particular image, say this is the image, restricted by the first owner, or is it an unlimited that you can sell
It's
it?
unlimited. It's unlimited, so it can be sold on and on and on in
Right.
throughout the blockchain.
Interesting. Yeah.
One thing that you said earlier, Andrew, about viewing an AI piece, and you can almost like sense that it's almost like a nothingness, right? When you look at something, you're staring into it, you want to dive further into the world of what's in front of you. And it's interesting that you say you look at something that's made purely from AI, and it's almost like this emptiness within it. I think that's that sort of that language there, that a person creates is putting emotion into it, subconsciously, like through all these like this type of language they've built up, through the practice of their own. Maybe it is a sort of like a flat piece of work. It doesn't have any sort of real something that's in this sort of dimension. Maybe it's just something else that's almost like stripped away from something that you can really feel, or you can feel in your spirit.
Right. And, like, art has its emotion, and then so does music. So if, would it be strange? Would it be strange to go to a concert and then you hear a whole bunch of songs, and the songs might be even a little bit more like what I like ambient music, but you hear a whole variety of songs, and they're very emotional, and you think it's a great show, and then right at the end, the artist comes out and says, "Oh, that was all AI." What would you feel like? You might feel like, "Whoa, I just been kind of robbed," or, some people might not feel different at all, but would
Mm.
you feel? But then you also have to say that we're in a new technology, and so back in the day when they were first introducing um, synthesizers, there were probably a lot of people like, that's something I will never get involved in. I want good old, guitar playing music, um, and it's incorporated itself in various ways. But I wanted to touch upon a statement by Tommy, which is similar to the way I feel. But yeah, 2023 will be a year when AI explodes and tons of implementations will be showcased. I think it feels like something huge is going to happen, and you better adapt and make sure to be on the ride, or you'll be left behind. And I think that we all kind of agree on that. And Jack was talking about that
Mm.
too. Your competitors will be way ahead, and it can be stressful. And he says, "Is that just me?" So, as I said earlier, too, the one thing that I believe is going to develop too, and I'm all for it, is AI in the neural filters, in the content aware fill, and other processes that we do in Photoshop will become more common and more perfected. It'll become more perfected, and I'm all for it. I've embraced that since the beginning. So, you know, not to date myself, but I've been using Photoshop since the 90s. And when I had to take a pen tool and go around like a diamond necklace, I'd go around a diamond necklace to cut out the necklace from the background for different projects for a different client. When the new tools for like selections came out, I loved them. And that type of stuff is going to become more and more common. How to select something, how to knock out a background, and then maybe even some better ways of doing color changes. And
the pen tool can be quite a laborious process, but some people say that it's the smoothest lines, and with the object and the select subject, you never get the same kind of smooth.
It's very precise.
Yeah,
it can cramp up your hand after a while.
Oh yeah, 100%. You can spend like half an hour on just one piece, man, if it's intricate enough.
Yeah.
Can you imagine jewelry like diamond? You go around each diamond, and then after you go around the whole perimeter, you have to go in the inside and go around each.
Yeah, you gotta love it, man.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, we're doing pretty good. It's been an hour and 15 minutes, so I think we touched upon a lot of things, and we will have a panel again. I believe Tyrone even had a friend that was interested in being part of the panel, which I'm totally open for. It was last minute, and I just wanted to make sure that we were good to go tech wise. So we will have other friends, other guests join us for sure. And as John says, love that pen tool for precision, but Lord, it can be time consuming. Diamond necklace. Yeah, and I think I had to do a whole series, so it wasn't like one necklace; it was like 20 of them. And I think, and then another thing was doing the pen tool with what kind of lighting it was. The lighting was really bad, like artificial lighting. I was like, wow, this is a real test. So, but yeah, so someone says brilliant discussion. Cheers. Yeah. So thank you so much, Tyrone. Thank you so much, Jack.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
And we'll try to we'll go to AI and type in titles for AI focused live events and see what comes up. Give us some new topics, right?
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about that aspect. Using the AI to kind of give you new themes, new topics, new ways to look at things. So, thanks so much, everybody, and thanks everyone for watching. And as always, I will be posting the link to the recording in the Facebook groups. Oh, and before we go, though, let me give a bit of a shout out to everybody. So first thing is, do check out the Influx Gallery. So influxgallery.com, where you'll see a lot of great digital artists and maybe in the future some AI artists as well, right, Jack?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got a couple already there, Andrew.
Yep. Integrating it a bit.
Moving with the times.
And then you can find Jack at the Influx Gallery at influxgallery.com/featured Jack/Savage. Tyrone at the Influx Gallery at featured/Tyrone/Williams. Me at the Influx Gallery featured/Andrew/Kavanagh. You can follow Jack online at Savaged. Every time. SavageDart.com. It's great. Also, Jack on Instagram at JackSavage_photo. And Tyrone on Instagram, TYS Wills. It's a nice abbreviation for it, right?
Yeah, I tried to make it a bit shorter.
When I think about all the social stuff and the websites, I wish I could go back in time. I would just make everything Drew Cav, DREWKAV. That's it. That's my Gmail. That's my website. I think that would be a great, easy.
You don't think
way.
at the time though, do you? Like
No.
when Instagram first came across, it was like, okay, I'll just type anything. But then
I had one that was like Image Bliss at Gmail. And then you can also find me on Instagram at Digital Artist Drew. So yeah, if I could go back in time, it would just be Drew Cav everywhere. And just a reminder for those who are watching on YouTube and those who are watching from Facebook, I do have a YouTube channel. So subscribe for my digital art, Photoshop, and photography focused live streams and tutorials. YouTube.com/digitalartdrew. That's Digital Art Drew on YouTube. Please consider subscribing, following, watch as many of the 1 hour or longer videos so I can get my watch time up, so I can get monetized. And then lastly, come join the Digital Art and AI Art group, which is facebook.com/groups, the Digital Art Group. But it is also, I need to tweak this text a little bit, is Digital Art and AI Art. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, everyone. Sarah says
Nice
thanks.
talking.
And John says savaged art.
Hey,
Great.
gotta love it.
Thanks, everyone. Be well, and keep your eye on the groups, and always look at the top featured post for new live events, contests, news, giveaways, etc. Thanks, everyone, for joining.
Take care, guys.
Cheers, guys.